This overload. This overload. Won't you help me, girl? This overload. Won't you help me, girl? This overload. Won't you help me, girl? This overload. You ain't gonna help me, girl. This overload. Won't you help me, girl? This overload.
Welcome to Technically Speaking, the show for the technically challenged. I'm Stephanie, and today we're going to be talking about Windows 10. You know, Windows 10 seems to be the biggest question I get asked, whether it's on the website or even just out on the street. People are asking me all about Windows 10. So I figured I better download a copy and be ready to tell you all about it. And what I've learned so far, you're really going to like. Now, first of all, you might say, Windows 10? Wasn't the last Windows they had Windows 8? What happened to 9? Well, Windows 8 was an unmitigated disaster. Everybody hated Windows 8 so much that Microsoft decided that they wanted to distance themselves as much as possible from it. I'm surprised they didn't even call it something like, oh, I don't know, peaches and cream or something so we can get far, far away from it. So there is no Windows 9. You did not miss it. But they really wanted to make a statement and say, we heard you, Windows 8 was terrible, we're 2 steps away from it. So now we're up to Windows 10. Now, if you're stuck with Windows 8 right now, you're in luck. If you have Windows 7, you're probably very happy with it, but Microsoft has already said that they are no longer going to support Windows 7. And what happens when they no longer support a system is that suddenly you're going to get lots of viruses and hacking and things because you will no longer be getting updates. Once those updates stop coming, your computer is susceptible to viruses. So, Windows 10 it is, whether you want it or not. Fortunately, one of the first good things about Windows 10 is it's free. So, if we look back over what Windows was, if you look at a picture like this is what Windows 7 and even older Windows XP looked like. You had a nice big desktop area, and most importantly, you had a start button right down here in the bottom corner. You knew whatever happened, you could press the start button and you'd be able to find your things. When Microsoft came out with Windows 8, they wanted something completely different. So rather than this big desktop and a start button, they went with this look. Lots of little squares for all of your different applications. And if you look down in the bottom corner, there's no start button. Our most popular episode here at Technically Speaking ever was the How to Work Windows 8 episode. And the question I would get constantly is, what do you do without a start button? Well, I'm not the only one getting that question. Microsoft got that question too. So they admitted that all these cute little squares might look good on the screen, but without a start button, we are nowhere. So the Windows 10 look is a bit of a combination. We have a nice big desktop. We have a start button. And they did leave some of these little squares. They didn't want to admit that they were a disaster. So there are some squares there, but at least there is a start button to be had. So let's take a look at the computer screen at what this Windows 10 looks like. So first of all, if you're looking at the screen, you'll notice no squares. Thank goodness. And here's the start button. Their one concession is it no longer says start. But if you could please remember that these 4 little squares in the bottom left corner, where I'm pointing with my mouse right now, that's the start button. And if you forget or you're not too sure, just click on it. And you'll see right away. That's where you're going to find everything. Underneath the Start button, you're going to see lots of different programs and files. You are going to see these squares, and I guess some people do like them. and I can even scroll to see more and more squares. Now, one of the first things we're probably going to want to do is to customize this start menu. There are things here that I'm never, ever, ever going to use, like groove music. There's one right there in the middle. I know I'm never going to open that. So I could just right-click on that little box, and do you see where it says Unpin from Start? I'm not actually deleting this groove music. I'm just removing it from the Start button. Over here I have some stocks. As much as I probably should check some stocks, I know that's never going to happen. So again, I'm going to right-click with my mouse and unpin from Start. I do have some other options like resizing it. I can make it bigger or smaller. I don't really think I need my stocks much bigger, but I could do it. I could uninstall it, get rid of it entirely. But for right now, I'm just going to unpin it from the Start button. And little by little, if you go through all of these different squares, you'll see some that you like and some that really are meaningless to you. And you can customize this whole look so you can find whatever you want. Another place for customizing on Windows 10, if this is the Start menu, I'm just going to click here to get rid of it, is if you look along the bottom, we have something called the taskbar. And I put all of my favorite things right there on the taskbar because I want to be able to find them in a hurry. How did I get them there? Well, if I go to the Start button, and for any of these squares, if you remember, we had the option, here's movies and TV. I have the top option of unpinning it from the Start bar, but I also have the option to pin it to the taskbar. If I click on that one, it will automatically show up here at the bottom where I have all of my favorites. So in this way, you can make both your Start button and your taskbar have only the things you're going to need. If you're not going to use something, there's no reason for you to see it there. So far, so good. We discovered that we have a nice big desktop. We've discovered that we have a taskbar where we can put some of our most popular programs that we use. And we've discovered that we have a Start button. Before I go any further, I want to point out one of the most popular things that everyone was excited to see on the Start menu. Here, the word power. And I can start right here to shut down my computer if I want. Now, this might seem silly to be excited about power, but if you were one of those users who used Windows 8, you had no idea how to turn your computer off. Probably the most popular question I was asked about Windows 8 is, how do I turn off the computer? And it was hiding under a series of hidden menus that you had to mouse over to get them to pop up. This is nice and clear. We go to the Start button, we click on Power, and we have our options: sleep, shut down, or restart. So far, Windows 10 is looking a lot more user-friendly. Before I go any further with looking into Windows 10, and I hope I sold you on it, not that I get a kickback, how do you get Windows 10? Well, I mentioned it's free. So if you have a computer, whether it's a Windows 7 or 8 computer right now, you too can reserve a copy of this for free. In most cases, you don't even have to do anything about it in order to get it. In fact, on my computer, one day I just suddenly had a little pop-up that said, "Would you like to upgrade to Windows 10 right now?" Well, I happened to be busy at the moment they asked me, so I kept putting it off to later, and then suddenly when enough people said, "How do I work this?" I clicked on the button. So you're probably getting an automatic button on your computer now offering you a free copy of Windows 10. Now, you might be suspicious of anything that pops up on a computer. I sure am. But this one's legitimate. So when you get the pop-up that says, would you like Windows 10? Please say yes. You're definitely going to be happier with it. If for some reason you don't get a pop-up, it's easy enough on your computer to just Google the word Windows 10. And there's a button right there that'll upgrade your computer. Completely for free. Which is nice, because if you were one of the people who got Windows 8, you probably paid $100 for it. So this is completely for free. Either just follow the directions when the pop-up comes on your screen, or just go to Google and type in Windows 10 and you can get the automatic update there. So back to our screen here. We have a taskbar where we can put all of our favorite programs. We have a start button that we can also customize. I'm going to open this button that says Settings. And again, it's nice that it's not hidden. Used to be hidden. When I click on Settings, there's all sorts of things here to make my computer run exactly the way I want to. Some of them have to do with the look. Some of them have to do with security and privacy, but they're all there under Settings. So let me come over here to Personalization. Personalization has to do with the background colors, the lock screens, all the different choices I have. So I'm going to click on Personalization. Now, first of all, with the background, I have a choice. I could choose any of these pictures that they give me. I could browse and find my own picture. So if I have a really nice picture of my family I'd like to put there, here's my big chance. I kind of like some of these options. If you look at the back of the screen right now, and when I click here, you'll see we have a new picture. See it there? So whether you like a picture like that, or perhaps something darker, like our original, you have choices. Or you could browse and choose whatever photo you want. Maybe you have a great vacation photo you'd like to put up on your computer. Another thing under personalization is colors. Now, I can pick whatever colors I want to be used on my computer. Right now it says automatically pick an accent color from my background, and it's checked on. But if I check that off, I can pick whatever accent color I want. Now let's see, if I choose this color, that's going to be my highlight color and all of my different accents. I could change that to whatever I want, and you could see my highlight color in there. But maybe I'll go with that, picking an accent color. I also can choose to lock what my lock screen looks like. This is yet another picture. Your lock screen is what your computer looks like when you're not using it. That's that background picture. That's a pretty picture. I wish I were there. So all of this, I'll just close this window to show you how I got here again. The Start button, which doesn't say Start, but that's one thing for us to remember. In the bottom left corner is a little button with 4 squares put together. Click on it. And right now we're going to Settings. We already went to Power, and the first thing we learned was how to turn the computer off. Now we're in Settings, and we had all of our options. We had an option for personalization, which is where we found the background colors. We're going to have an option for privacy, that you could turn your location and camera off and back on. Well, I like the idea of turning that camera off once in a while. Our computers all have a little camera right here. And I must admit, I've been known to put a Post-it note there just in case, because, you know, you could be on the computer in your pajamas. So turning your camera off is a very good idea. Also in this section here, you'll see time and language. This is where you're going to set things like what time zone you're living in right now, or if you'd rather speak French to your computer rather than have it all in English, you could change the settings right there. So if you suddenly move to Norway, you could change your time zone. Here's another set for devices, meaning printers. So when you're hooking up a printer to your computer, the network and internet is to set it up for Wi-Fi, all sorts of different things. I'm going to slide over here to System for just a moment. And it would be a really good idea for you to sit down with your computer and just hunt around. One of the things you can do here is determine how to save your battery. See, it's telling me my battery is about 50% out, so I have 1 hour and 21 minutes remaining. Good to know. It's also telling me that I could turn on Battery Saver, which makes the colors a little less bright, but it'll make my battery last longer. And another important thing that I just got a call on today is how to determine when your computer turns off. I had someone call me today that said, my computer keeps turning off after 10 minutes, and then I have to start all over again. How can I stop it from turning off? Well, you could change to 20 minutes, 40 minutes, 2 hours, even never turn off your computer. So it's your determination if you want to keep your computer running or if you want it to turn off. Of course, if you're on a laptop, turning it off will preserve the battery. So all of these different things are all in settings. And fortunately now in Windows 10, settings is very easy to find. We go to the Start button and we would go to Settings. And you'll be able to find all the different ways to customize your computer. I'm going to close out of that, and we're going to go to the Start button, File Explorer. These are all of the different files on your computer. Now, I'm sure that you've worked with computers before, but if you're like many people, you might not know exactly which file is which and where to find your stuff. That's a big question I get every day. Where do I find my things? Well, first of all, whenever you have a File Explorer, it's really a series of folders. See all these folders here? And some of these folders have folders inside the folders, and then documents. They're all nested inside each other. Kind of like this. If this whole thing represents your File Explorer and all of your different files are inside, you're going to have one folder called Downloads. And all of your downloads are going to automatically go in there. You'll have another folder. This one's called Stephanie's Files because I have lots of files. And all the different things can be inside the folder. You could also nest a folder within a folder. For example, here's a folder called Photos. And I'm sure your computer has a photo folder also. But inside the photo folder, I have two more folders. I have one for our summer vacation trip. And I have another one for a trip to Florida. But since they are photos, they're all inside the folder called Photos. It's like a giant file cabinet, except it's on screen. So we have lots and lots of folders, and they're all inside one giant File Explorer. So now that we've seen it in person, let's look at it on screen here. Here's our File Explorer, and you're going to see series of folders, and inside more and more folders, kind of like a giant file cabinet. One folder that's very important to note is this one, the Downloads folder. A download is when you click on something, perhaps on the internet or in an email, and you want to save it to your computer. So if I'm reading an email and someone sent me a picture or a file and I clicked on it, And all of a sudden I say, where did it go? It went to my downloads folder. So all of the things in the downloads folder, here they are, these were all sent to me at some point. And they all ended up there. I can move them from the downloads folder to another place. If I wanted this particular file, I could just drag it to my desktop. And if I wanted to go to another folder, let's say I wanted to go to this folder, and I could drag this into the right place with no problem. Anytime you get something off of the internet or an email or an attachment, it will always go to your downloads folder. Now that doesn't mean it has to stay there for the rest of your life. As I showed you, we can go to that, here's downloads. I could go to the downloads folder where all the things came in, and I can take any one of these. I could drag it right off of here and put it onto my desktop. I could leave it on my desktop. Of course, at some point I'll have 1,000 things on my desktop. So I can come back here and find a better folder. Let's say I want to put it inside this folder. And then I can just drag it back. So if we picture that you have a file cabinet, and on top of the file cabinet is a big box. And every time someone leaves something new for you, they leave it on top in the box. That's the downloads folder. Does that mean you need to keep it in the box forever? No. You could take it out of that folder and put it in your file cabinet and put it wherever you'd like so that you can have everything neatly organized. This seems to be a confusion for people about the folders and about losing things. It makes sense when they're tangible and they're in a file cabinet. It makes a lot less sense when it's on screen here, but they are all there. Now, one especially interesting feature of Windows 10 is the ability to find things. Now, if you know where you put something, you could just go through all of these folders. But we do have a search bar now, which we never had on a Windows system before. And the search bar is right down here. If you look here next to the Start button, there's a little search bar. And I can type whatever I want into that search bar. And the computer will automatically find it for me. I could also talk to the search bar. Kind of like if you have a cell phone and you can ask your phone different questions, I can now ask the computer different questions. Here's a little microphone, and let me ask the computer, what is the population of New York City?
8.49 million in 2014.
Fantastic. No wonder it's so crowded on the subway. 8.49 million people in New York City. Let's see how smart she is. What's the population of New York State?
19.75 million in 2014.
Wow, almost half the people in the state live in the city. That's a crowded subway. So it's right here. You can talk to it. You can ask it things. I can even ask it to launch a program for me. I could say, open Google Chrome.
All right, opening Google Chrome.
And it's going to open the program for me. Boy, if that isn't the height of laziness that I couldn't just click on the little button myself. But it's a wonderful ability to be able to type in here whatever I've lost, whatever I can't find, or I can just hit the little microphone and talk to the computer. That system is called Cortana. I guess Apple already had the name Siri for their talking listening machine, so Microsoft named theirs Cortana. I'm telling you that just in case you see the name Cortana someplace and you're not sure what it is. That's the talking listening portion of the computer. So you can talk to your computer or you can type in and you can get the weather, the population, the sports scores, whatever you want, Cortana will tell you. So we've had a lot of nice features. I hope that by the end of this episode, you're going to run right over and click yes on that button that says, do you want Windows 10? You definitely want Windows 10. We have a start button. We can turn it on or off. We have different settings that we can make the computer look and function exactly the way we want. We've learned about the files and how the file system works in Windows. We have lots of different applications here in the little squares, and we also learned, if we're never going to use one, how to right-click on it and get rid of it permanently to clean things up. If I get rid of enough boxes here, I'll be left with just the few that I'm going to use. I just want to point out one additional feature on this Windows 10 now. This may look familiar if you see this blue E down here. The blue E always stood for going on the internet. I'm going to click on it. On the older Windows systems, the internet was called Internet Explorer. On the newest Windows 10 system, the internet is called Edge, or Microsoft Edge. They kept that blue E because none of us would know what the heck that button was if it didn't look the same, but it is the same as Internet Explorer. I wanted to let you know about the name change so you don't say, what's an Edge? Edge is Internet Explorer. Again, just like why are they calling it Windows 10 instead of 9? Internet Explorer was a terrible program that lots of people were complaining about over the years. So instead of offering a new, updated version of Internet Explorer, they decided to change the name entirely. Often when a company changes the name entirely, it makes you think that they've made more changes than if they would have kept the name and just changed one number in it. So here we have Microsoft Edge, and this is your Internet Explorer that you can cruise around the internet, find different websites, etc. So we have our start, our taskbar, Internet Explorer, and a way to talk to our computer. So get off the television couch now and get some Windows 10. Good luck, and thanks for joining us on Technically Speaking.